Hey there, friend. Are you one of the many authors who believes that if your book proposal has been turned down either by an agent or by a publisher, that means it's just not good? If that's the case, I need you to watch this video because I am going to bust that myth with 6 reasons why truly great book proposals get turned down by publishers. My name's Kelly Notaras. I'm the founder of KN Literary Arts. We are your one-stop shop, getting you from wherever you are to having a book in your hand. Please visit us at knliterary.com so we can help you get where you want to go. I've also been a book editor in the U.S. publishing business for over 25 years, and I bring all of the wisdom that I've gathered in that time to this YouTube channel for free. So please hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you never miss a video. This video is so important to me because I work with so many authors who are submitting their nonfiction book proposal to publishers, and they believe that if they get a single rejection, that must mean their book is not good. And unfortunately, what that ends up doing is crushing their spirits and leaves them to not do anything with that proposal that they put so much time and energy into, and that book that their heart and their soul are calling them to get into the world never gets there. To me, that is not an okay outcome of this situation. So today I want to walk you through 6 reasons why really good book proposals are getting turned down all the time. The first reason why your dream publisher might not want to be publishing your book is because your book actually is not on brand for them. What I mean by that is that you might love this publisher, but they might not actually publish the kind of book that you are submitting. So for example, maybe you are submitting a memoir and you want to tell your story and it's not speaking directly to an audience about problems in their lives, but you want to submit it to a publisher that is primarily doing self-help, personal growth, the kind of nonfiction that's actually meant to show people in so many words how to change and improve their lives. Even though they might get a lot of lessons via osmosis from reading your memoir, the publisher may not want to take it on because it can't be packaged and sold as traditional self-help, which is their area. So you just need to do your research and make sure that the publisher you are submitting to is actually publishing books in your exact genre. Reason number 2 why your great proposal might be turned down by a publisher is that they already have a book similar to yours in their pipeline. You would never know this unless you were doing a lot of research on websites like publishersmarketplace.com that report every big deal. Actually, I shouldn't even say that. They report the deals that the publishers and agents report to them. So sometimes a book might be sold, acquired by a publisher, and it never even makes it into the trades. So unless you're doing a ton of research and unless you are 100% sure that that publisher has put every single one of their acquisitions into the trades, you can't possibly know what books they have in their pipeline. Let's just say you're submitting in the summer of 2024. As the pipeline of the traditional publishers go, you've got 18 to 24 months before your book is going to be coming out. You have no way of knowing if in January of 2025, they already have a book on your topic. So you might have an amazing book proposal, but they don't want to cannibalize the sales of their current book they're putting out, or they are hopeful that that book is going to become the category killer, meaning the book that really makes it in that category, and that they, won't know that until after it gets published. So maybe at that point they'd be interested in another book on the topic, but for now they're taking one risk, and that's the book that's already in the pipeline. You can't possibly know that. Your book proposal may be fabulous, but they're going to turn you down anyway. The third reason, which is kind of similar to number 2, is that the publisher knows another rival publisher has a book just like yours about to come out that they're putting a ton of money and attention and marketing into, right? So again, many of the big deals get reported in the trades, in Publisher's Lunch, Publisher's Marketplace, and the other publishers are aware, and maybe they even bid on that same book proposal, and they know that that book is coming out from a different publisher, and they just don't want to get into the fight. Also, again, that book may be coming out sooner. They want to wait and see if that book works, if it sort of sets up a new category, if it's going to generate more interest in that topic before they're going to buy a book on the same subject. So again, it may just be bad timing. A rival publisher is about to put a lot of money, energy, and effort into getting a book just like yours out into the world. Fourth good reason why your awesome proposal is not being picked up is because they have tried your topic before and they did not know how to make it a success. They might have taken a flyer on it. It might have been a little bit new or different to them, and they didn't figure out how to take it from point A to point B, meaning how to get that book, great book, out into the marketplace and get it to grow legs, as we say, meaning that it starts to sell itself. It didn't work, it withered on the vine, and they don't want to take that risk again, so they're turning down your awesome proposal just because they don't know that they'll be able to make it work. Fifth reason why your awesome book proposal might be turned down by a publisher is that it just landed on the wrong editor's desk. Now, this is the role of the agent. That agent spends a lot of their time going out to lunch, going to drinks, etc., meeting up with the editors at any given publishing company, which are a rotating doorway of people. Myself, I was in the book industry in New York City for 7 years, and I had 4 different jobs during that time, just to give you an idea of how quickly things change. One company got acquired and then I moved 3 times, etc. That happens a lot. And so the agent's job is to stay on top of who's at what house and what they're acquiring. If you don't have an agent who truly is an industry staple, someone who understands the business, has those contacts, they might not know that they're delivering your book to the wrong editor. Now, maybe you're sending to an indie publisher who's accepting submissions directly from the author and doesn't need that agent in between. The smaller houses often will do that. In that case, you have no way of knowing if the person who receives it is the right person at the house for it. And sometimes the editor knows, oh, you know, this isn't for me, but this is for so-and-so, and they'll pass it over to that person. Other times they just don't have time. They just turn it down, and that's that. So you have to understand that it doesn't mean your book proposal wasn't great. There is some luck of the draw that it lands on the right editor's desk at the right time. I always tell this story, but my first boss in publishing had the illustrious honor of having turned down 2 of the biggest New York Times best-selling novels of the year, the prior year. He just didn't like them. Guess what? The wider marketplace loved them. Someone saw that potential, bought them, and made them into bestsellers. So for any editor, we can only judge a book by our own response to it and by our understanding of the marketplace. And sometimes there might be a great book that, you know, this is a great book, but it's not for me, and I don't really want my list going in that direction, so I'm going to turn it down. So just know, it just might have landed on the wrong editor's desk. That doesn't mean it's not great. The 6th and final way that I'm going to talk about today that your book might be overlooked is that reading it, seeing who you are, maybe seeing that you already have built a really amazing platform and you have maybe a large following on TikTok or on Instagram, or you have a big newsletter list, or you've got a big business or a big podcast. They might simply think this is going to be too expensive for us. It's not necessarily the exact book we know how to sell. We can see that the author has a platform that would really generate a lot of sales, but it's not really in our area. And I know that other publishers are going to be going hot and heavy over this. I don't even want to get into the fray. I'm going to stand down because it's going to be too expensive for us. Now, if that is the reason your great book proposal was turned down by your ideal publisher, good for you. That means you've done a ton of the legwork in advance. You understand how books are sold, and you set yourself up really well for finding a great publisher and hopefully having a big auction for your book proposal and selling a bunch of copies of the book down the line. So I hope that that is you. So I just want to finish up here by saying that I often get the question from authors, well, how do I know that it's one of these reasons versus that the book proposal just isn't good? So here are a couple ways you can assess whether your book proposal is good or not. The first way that you can assess your book's, viability is to keep submitting. So to submit to more agents, if it's the agents that are turning it down, submit to more indie publishers if it's the publishers that are turning it down. The more you submit, the more likely 1 or 2 of these dozen people that you sent it to will actually give you some feedback. It's rare, but it happens that someone will say, hey, this is why I didn't pick this book up. And that can be helpful to you as well. I will say that you may not hear anything from anybody, and that doesn't mean anything good or bad. It doesn't mean that the book's terrible, they didn't even want to respond. It doesn't mean it's, great. It doesn't mean anything. So many people just don't have time, especially when you're going direct to that person. They will always respond. If you have gotten an agent to sign you, you will always get some sort of feedback from the publisher, whether it comes by phone or by email, you will get some feedback. But if it's just you sending it out, there are so many people submitting every day to those agents and indie publishers. They often just don't have time to give you feedback. Okay. But if you keep submitting and you set yourself a goal, okay, I'm going to submit to 40 agents or 40 indie publishers or whatever it might be, a big number, it's likely within that mix, you're going to start getting some feedback. And also, if after submitting to that many publishers, you don't find a home for your book proposal, that might be a good sign that it needs some retooling. Second way you can just check to see if your book proposal is good is to hire an industry-trained editor to give you an assessment. This is someone who really does understand how the book business works. Ideally, I want you working with someone who has worked at either an agency or at one of the big houses. They will be able to get a sense of your book and see whether it feels big. Now, this is the thing. Those big publishers, they want big books. They're looking for books that have a chance of actually making it. That is a combination of your platform, if you have one, the idea you have, and the writing. So I'll say that many of the people that come to me have not yet spent the time to build their platform. Sometimes that is the first thing you should do. You will learn so much about your content if you start putting it out there as courses, as a podcast, as social media posts, as newsletters. You will start to get feedback from actual real people telling you whether or not it's working. And I can tell you that when people ask me, what's the right way to go about getting a book deal? I always say, if you have not taught this material to real life people, that is the wrong way to go about it. Start by teaching the material. Now, if you're writing a memoir, it's a little bit harder, but you can still do it. Find the lessons in your memoir, teach a course that has a module with each of those lessons, read some of your memoir, and then give exercises. Maybe it's journaling exercises or visualization practices or meditations, but you run people through practices where they can have some sort of an experience for themselves. Regardless, you will get a lot of feedback about your story and how it's put together if you're writing a memoir, if you teach it that way. But regardless, getting real live feedback from actual real humans is the #1 way to assess whether your content is working, and by, corollary, the book proposal itself, the quality of that proposal. Because if it's not working and it's just you that ran yourself through these exercises and you've got editors, agents, publishers reading this and saying to themselves, this isn't very good, I can't imagine this is really working for a lot of people, they're not telling you that. You need to do the legwork to get the work in front of real people and get that feedback. The third way you can tell whether your book proposal is good or not is to start working on writing the book. Set aside the proposal for now. Decide that you are going to make some progress on writing the book. Now, if you feel sad and deflated at that thought, then that is really good information for you. If you don't want this book to get out there come hell or high water, and it feels like a requirement that someone outside of you gives you the validation to say, you can do this, this book is great, before you even want to keep going, that tells you everything you need to know. I cannot tell you how many books I have started over the years because I always get a great idea and I'm like, okay, I'm going to start writing that book. And then I'm tucking along, and all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know if this book is actually going to find a home at a publisher. And then I'm like, I don't want to write it anymore. That tells me something about the book. I have worked on other projects where I feel compelled to keep writing regardless of whether or not I think it's going to find a home at a publisher. It's because there's something in it that's coming from my soul. It's coming from life. It's coming from a place beyond that's telling me it is a story I need to write, whether or not other people need to hear it, or these methodologies are something I need to put into this specific order so I can understand them better. And bonus points, if you get through a book writing it like that, you very likely will find other people on the other side who will be interested in it. At the same time, you may find that there are flaws in your methodology that you couldn't really see until you put the work in and it worked you through the writing process. So that is my third suggestion. Go ahead and write the book. Think about self-publishing it. If you can self-publish your book and sell several thousand copies in the first year, you will have traditional publishers interested in picking up the rights because you will have proven to them, #1, your commitment and drive, and #2, the fact that there is an audience who's interested in hearing what you have to say. So regardless of anything, I want you to leave you with this idea. If you have a book dream in your heart, and it is true and it is deep, then you have to write this book. Life is asking for it from you for reasons we might not understand. It might be just for you. It might be for a huge audience. We don't know yet. Please just keep going.